Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are, whatever you're doing, and welcome to another episode of the Daily Red for Anfield Index. It is Saturday, the 7th of June, and there's a fair bit going on. There's a fair bit we're looking forward to. There's a fair bit we're hoping for, and I think people might just lose their minds. Not everyone, but some, if things don't progress soon. But it does look like it is heading that way, doesn't it, ladies and gents? I'm your normal host, Dave Davis, coming to you from a pretty sunny Edinburgh. Fingers crossed it stays that way. Hopefully it's good in the world wherever you are. Hopefully it's good in the world whatever you're doing. And hopefully it's good for you when you're hearing the Liverpool latest. Now, let's be honest, there is one real focus at the moment. It's transfers, isn't it? It's all about the incomings, the outgoings, before window one comes to an end, isn't it? Window one, Tuesday the 10th even of June, 7 p.m. That is when window one shuts. That is what we're all looking forward to. If it works out our way. So we're going to, of course, talk about exits, potential incomings, the latest stories, everything that is going on with Liverpool at the moment. And in terms of exits, it is important to say there was another one yesterday. Barry Lutas, I don't know if anyone, say that, I don't know if anyone knows him personally, is the wrong thing to say, isn't it? I'm sure people will know him as the boss of the under-21s over a decade service at Anfield. So that's a big change in the back room happening this summer. Johnny Heitinger's also departed as well. So there's a fair bit of a reshuffle, it's important to say, at Anfield in the backroom staff this summer coming. But in terms of exits, that's where we'll start. And if you look on the screen, we've got our latest headlines. And looks like a few are heading. One that we kind of knew, well, two that we really knew, but I think one that people were maybe rallying against and hoping against, maybe for sentimental reasons more than anything. But where do we start? It's this one probably to look at because this is fresh this morning. Fabrizio Romano confirmed to me that Federico Chiesa is looking to part ways with Liverpool and return to Italy. And the reason for that being is the World Cup is next year. And if he wants to have a shot at that Italy squad, that's where he thinks it's best. And it is understandable, isn't it, when you look at it, ladies and gents, that the Premier League and Champions League last season, he made 9 appearances, you could argue, but just over 200 minutes. He literally hardly played a minute. We know this last season. The best thing that Chiesa gave us was that banger, wasn't it? Let's be honest. Not the Accrington Stanley goal where it sort of goes in off the post, drilled along the ground. Not that one, no. You're kidding, I'm crying and cheering. And everyone still sings it. Don't lie that you don't. We still hum it every now and again. And when he comes on the screen, I bet it's one of the first things that go through your mind. We will all be sad for Fede to go. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe it's part of the deal to try and keep the song. I don't know how that's going to work. But we're fully expecting Chiesa to depart. I don't think it's really a shock or any surprise that he's looking for that move. We actually mentioned it on the transfer show last night as well, that our information is he has been in talks with Italian clubs for a while, as we said. But the information we also said that we had was that wages-wise, that it was looking at loans with an option rather than an obligation had been on the table so far. And also that a lot of Italian clubs weren't prepared to pay the full package, shall we say, and that Liverpool might have to subsidise those wages. So it is one to keep an eye on for Fede, but there's no surprise on this one at all, is there? By the end of the summer, with all best wishes, we expect Federico Chiesa to be heading back to Italy. So that will be one forward departing. Diaz was Thursday's news, wasn't he? All about his contract or no renewal offer by Liverpool, Barcelona having the phone slammed down on them by the suits. The bid from Saudi awaiting, so we'll wait to see what develops on everything Diaz from a forward perspective. But the other headline at the moment, Darwin Nunez. Now, this is an almost evolving story with Darwin Nunez, because the headline says there on AI, Liverpool expect 71 million forward to leave this summer amid La Liga interest. And it's Atletico Madrid that are interested in Darwin Nunez. And I know, like me, won't deny it for a second, we've all got those hopes, as in, can Julian Alvarez be included in there somehow? But I don't think we're really expecting it. It is more hope, but we will have to see. But it's the fact that we're talking about La Liga interest, because I know some of you will be thinking, nah, Saudi, that's where he's headed for. It did seem to be the case, but Simone Inzaghi's now in charge at Al Hilal, and they're working fast because they want to get their business done before that window one shuts on Tuesday and before the Club World Cup starts. And striker-wise, it's this man that we should be talking about for them, Victor Osimhen. Now, there's a bit of mixed reporting on this because Sacha Taglieri's been on the show before. It says that he's agreed a 3-year contract. And I'm not being funny. Look at them wages. $35 million a year. I guess it maybe should be euro. I don't know, but it's the dollar sign. So I'm going with $35 million a year. I mean, suggestions from certain journalists, he's being offered more than double where they started, that this is the third bid that's been put in front of Osimhen, that he's rejected the previous two, and they've more than doubled the offer for him. Over £500,000 a week on a 3-year deal. The worry is, I think, this is hard to turn down. Now, one thing is important to note as well, a shout out to Bucci who's interviewed Osimhen many times. He's usually very reliable in terms of updates. Said there's no agreement between Al Hilal and Osimhen. The first two offers have been rejected. He's taken his time on the third offer and considering all other offers, because Galatasaray made an eye-watering offer to him as well. But what happens is every time he rejects Al Hilal, the bid just keeps getting higher and higher. And you do wonder when they'll just get to that point where the Osimhen camp, the player will just go, I can't turn that down. I'm not going to get anything like that anywhere else. Generational wealth, etc. So I think we've all got a feeling about that. And the reason I'm saying that is Al Hilal did seem to be the club that was strongly linked with Darwin Nunez, didn't they? It's been reported by a few patch journos as well that they were expected to revive their interest in him. But if they're buying Osimhen, I can't see him play. You never know. I'm not pretending I know much about Al Hilal and Inzaghi and the way. And people will say, well, he plays two up front, doesn't he, with Thuram and Lautaro? So maybe that. But unfortunately, it wouldn't look too good for an Al Hilal move for Darwin, would it? And then you start looking at Darwin and thinking, as I've got on the screen here, I mean, it's about just over 1,500 or 1,500-ish minutes across the Premier League and Champions League last season, with 9 goal contributions, 6 goals, 3 assists. It wasn't fancied. It wasn't a season to write home about at all, was it, for Darwin Nunez? So then you start thinking, people, if you're honest, yeah, he probably did cost around 71 million. How much, if you're not going to get the Saudi money, are European clubs going to value Darwin Nunez at? It does feel like this is going to be something that evolves or is solved in transfer window 2 after the end of the first one and that small break, if it's not going to be Saudi. At which point, I think we might have to dial in our expectations of what can be got for Nunez. But we'll have to see. Those are the 3 big departures being talked about. But I get it. I totally get it, people. It ain't departures you want to talk about. It's who might be arriving at Anfield very shortly. And by the way, it has just got exciting. We have our first, and I'm saying that carefully, our first Hungarian arrival. Now, shout out to Ben Boxak, because he mentioned this, we said on the transfers show and suggested it to us. And now it's come to fruition. as the tweets on the screen there from James Pearce, Liverpool are close to completing the £1.5 million signing of young Hungarian goalkeeper Armin Pesci from Puskás Academia. Probably pronouncing a lot of that wrong, but probably not too important right now. Interesting detail that he is set to start next season, not under Barry Lutas, but playing for the under-21s and being helped by working with Alisson and Marmadashvili. A lot of people seemed underwhelmed by this, and I get it a little bit because people are looking at first-team stars, where we can compete for the league, the Champions League, etc. I totally understand all of that. However, I like seeing these moves being made because we've heard Liverpool talk before about a goalkeeping dynasty. That was mentioned, wasn't it? And sort of having that Fabian Oker, if I'm pronouncing that, the new coach coming in, Alisson helping to develop that, but also future-proofing. So if you have got Marmadashvili, if you have got Armin Pesci, if that's how it's pronounced, coming in as well. And it's important to remember for this kid, he was in the Golden Ball rankings, isn't it? The Wonder Kid rankings, if you want to call it that. So I'm not sad by this at all. I do think I get it's not going to be a headline grabber, but I don't mind when the hero's making these moves. I think it's wise. I think it's smart to start planning ahead. However, I totally appreciate it's not the main story. It all came late last night, didn't it? It sort of built up late, and everyone's thinking, come on, give us something, give us a here we, there we, whatever you want to call it. And Paul Joyce and others gave this story late last night, didn't they? That Liverpool have submitted a revised offer to Bayer Leverkusen for Florian Wirtz of 130 million as talks continue between the clubs. The package guarantees Leverkusen 100 million with the additional 30 million in add-ons. So that was the Joyce bomber, as we call it, last night. Now, a few have pounced on the wording around this to say that Leverkusen won 126 million, but Liverpool will not give or will not make an offer to that extent. I don't quite know, and this is an opinion, why people are sort of jumping on that. Whoever gets asking price in football, it very rarely happens, doesn't it? Clubs will set an asking price, knowing full well there's usually compromise on both sides. That's how 99% of transfers work. Maybe the way the Saudis have done it and the way they will just pay top dollar has changed that focus. And admittedly, for certain players, clubs will just pay top dollar to get it done. I agree with that as well. But as is mentioned in the article by Paul Joyce, David Ornstein also had one out as well. And shout out to Seb from The Athletic, who was on with Harry on a special pod around Wirtz. Well worth a listen when you get a chance as well. They co-wrote that one. That everyone knows what's happening. Wirtz has 2 years left on his deal. Wirtz wants to go to Liverpool. Bayer Leverkusen know the player won't sign a new contract. So that's their position. And it is weakened to get top dollar. We all know that. This has just got compromise written all over it. And we should all be, and I get there's a tinge of caution, I understand that, but we should all be excited for this. And as Red Armchair Supporter says there, 4 good signings in the first week of the window, touch wood, that's great work. Yeah, I mean, if someone had said to you at the end of the season, by the way, before the end of the window, Trent will leave, but you'll bring in Frimpong, Kerkez, Wirtz, and some young Hungarian lad goalkeeper before the 10th of June, you'd have been buzzing. Don't fib. You'd have been absolutely buzzing and thinking, what a great start. We've then got things like sales to do, and we'll see how the rest falls. But a brilliant start to the window. We all know, touch wood, and I know I'm saying that, and I know someone's going to comment, they're not done yet. Wait, I understand that, but we're preparing ourselves, aren't we? And part of the big reason we're preparing ourselves, and I never make any shame in saying this, Wirtz's profile is just outstanding. Now, from a character point of view, we did the pod with... No, actually, let me revise that. From a character point of view, He likes kicking Bruno. He likes leaving one on Bernardo. So that was a massive extra couple of ticks in the box. Scored in that game, didn't he, for Germany? Yeah. He's got a little bit of spite, nastiness about him. Brilliant. You need a little bit of shithousery in the Premier League, don't you? That's how winners are made. There's nothing wrong with that at all. So in terms of characteristics and what we've seen so far, ticking all them boxes. All the metrics as well, and the footage we've seen, I've no doubt you've watched it. It's annoying, I can't play in here, or the Bundesliga will shut us down for copyright, but it is filthy, erotic footage. And you look at them metrics, people. I mean, Bundesliga and Champions League, 16 goals, 13 assists, 29 contributions, goal contributions there. Carol Vorderman would be getting excited with them numbers, people. And you look at how he profiles. Now, the reason I'm bringing this up again is quite interesting. I don't know if anyone's clocked this, but if you do want to just take 5 minutes and you do read the articles a bit like I do, 3 separate patch journalists have all mentioned in their briefings that Wirtz has been convinced by Arne Slot to come over and will play the number 10 role. So that's clearly a coordinated briefing that's gone on to the patch, or gone out, sorry, to the patch journos. It's an interesting one because if you think about him as an attacking midfielder, if we're going to call him a number 10, I mean, the stats are just insane, aren't they? 98th percentile for passes, 96th percentile for successful take-ons, 93rd percentile, over 5.5 per 90 shot creating actions. Brilliant. But is it going to be a number 10? I just have a few question marks around that because other people have suggested, and time will tell on this one, obviously, if he arrives and it all happens, but false 9 has been suggested, hasn't it? And people have again pointed to the metrics that when he's played forward or as a forward, as his FBref profile says here, he's in the 99th percentile for assists, shot creating actions, passes attempted, progressive passes, and successful take-ons. So he could be a force as a false 9. There's no doubt about it at all. I mean, the stats are just insane if you look at his FBref profile. But then others have suggested, well, if he's a false 9, is he going to be the end on chances? Is that the way Liverpool would want to play? There's a few question marks around that at the same time as well. Others have also suggested, which I don't know, I kind of think I'm steering into, that, and when I say this, I don't understand why people struggle. He will play from the left. That does not mean he'll be a left winger and buried on the touchline or looking to take people on like a Luis Diaz. That's not what I'm saying, or I think others are saying at all. I think the element might be that almost like Coutinho, he starts often from the left and drifts in, which will allow Milos Kerkez to be the roadrunner and bomb on. I think that will happen. I don't know, though. It wouldn't surprise me if next season that you actually see him in various positions. He's going to start, isn't he? You don't pay that much money for, and obviously he's a supreme talent. The big thing I'm happy about, though, is we're getting another elite attacker in the side along with Mo Salah. And as soon as he arrives, it makes us red hot favourites for the title again, which is what it's about ultimately, people, isn't it? It's not winning the transfer window. It's about winning the league, and other clubs in Europe are put on notice at the same time as well. So, yeah, when you stack him up in comparison to forwards, brilliant. When you stack him up in comparison to attacking midfielders and wingers, and same wingers, Wirtz, look at the names there that he's being compared against. Elise, Doué, Cherky, or Wirtz on Temu.com if you're Manchester City. And then the forwards, I mean, Marmoush, Vinicius, Julian Alvarez. There's so much to like. And also, as a few have mentioned, which is right, Wirtz and Frimpong, obviously good pals off the field. So I'm like you on this. We're all just waiting for developments. But you do feel like this is in the end game. This is progressing. We'll have to see what happens on this. Exciting, eh? We also got some excitement this morning, people. I bet you've all clocked it. Now, Milos Kerkez didn't play last night for Hungary. And people thought, hey, what's going on? I think we had an inkling. And then this morning, it was tweeted from the official account, and shout out to Ben because he put it out as well. Milos Kerkez leaves the Hungary camp for Dr. Evil Fingers private reasons and won't play against Azerbaijan on Tuesday. I think we all know what's happening. I don't think it's that private. It's also not that private because Milos is tweeting, liking everything on social media. I think we all know what's going to happen. So we're all waiting. And a few sort of Bournemouth-related accounts put out things like, oh, there's been nothing agreed officially and that. And I think people jumped on that at the same time. But come on, people. Kerkez didn't play the other night. He's now left the camp. We all know what's going to happen. Looking forward very much to welcoming Milos Kerkez to Liverpool very shortly. Who, 21 years old, injury resistant, you'd say. You look at his record on that, it's absolutely brilliant. 7 goal contributions last season. In the Premier League, the player that got the ball into the box, 3rd in the rankings, wasn't he? So that pace, that energy, that aggression, absolutely looking forward to it being at Anfield. And again, looking at his FBref profile against other fullbacks being compared, 85th percentile for progressive carries. He's going to be a road runner, isn't he? He's going to be bombing up and down that pitch all day long. And we did a pod on Kerkez the other day, and shout out to Mark and Jimmy from XFB Analytics. They came on, honestly, well worth a watch, ladies and gents, a good 20 minutes of your time, because they talked about Kerkez as a character and what he brings with there. And there's some great quotes that Mark gave, but also Jimmy talked about his attributes, the analytics around Kerkez, and just how well he fits or will fit within this team. So it's well worth 20 minutes of your time, and it's exciting. And it's an interesting one with Kerkez because the other target we kind of looked at, but we've clearly plumped for Kerkez. He's been the target all along. But we looked at was Rayan Aït-Nouri, who, by all accounts, is set to be off to Manchester City very shortly. And when you overlay them, now they play in different teams, and very much, I would say, Aït-Nouri is allowed to almost bomb on a lot and doesn't do too much defending, it's fair to say. At Wolves, people will look at the FBref profiles and go, well, Aït-Nouri trumps in a lot of examples, but I don't think it's that straightforward, is it? In terms of the carries, the pace, the way he operates and gets the ball into the box. I think that with Frimpong is going to be a big part of Liverpool's play next year. And ultimately, he's one of the big reasons why Arne Slot and the team have plumped for Milos Kerkez as their number 1 left-back choice. We're all waiting now, aren't we? Yeah, I think, just in case anyone missed that, he's left the camp for private reasons. I love the way that's phrased. We'll see how private they are before Tuesday. Other news, signings-wise, there's a few things knocking around. Now, this name has come back on the docket again. Ousmane Diomande. Ivory Coast, Sporting Lisbon, centre-half, linked with a few clubs in Portugal, but now Liverpool being mentioned again. And there's a few different stories going around. And the reason we're talking about this, Konate, there's still that question mark, isn't there? There's a few more stories this morning doing the rounds, and I suppose you could call it an exit as well. But on Ibou Konate and PSG expected to come in. Now, if PSG do come in this summer, obviously we're hoping, by the sounds of it, we're trying to speak to Konate's agent, we're trying to do the renewal. But if they do, yeah, you do wonder what Ibou will be thinking. And also, if they do come in, I suspect They'll have to get used to this phrase. They will lowball because of how long he's got left on his deal, which then gives Liverpool a decision to make, doesn't it? Do they keep him for the year, let him leave on a free? Do they sell for the best price they can get and bring in a replacement like Diomande, who's being mentioned by quite a few outlets, it's fair to say, this morning? So when you look at the player, and the first thing people will say, Ivory Coast, they will, and I understand this, be thinking, if we did sign him, AFCON in Jan. That's the first worry. I understand that at the same time. But when you look at him in terms of stats, well over 3,000 minutes across the Portuguese Primeira Liga and the Champions League. Young as well, important to say, 21. In terms of his best attributes when compared to other centre-backs, that pass completion we do like. 93.5. We like a good pass completion. Maybe people will look, and as a few have said when we've dug before on him, progressive passes isn't his biggest thing, where he's in the 47th percentile, just under 3 again. But a decent passer. Not really sure about, shots that were bothered about and shot creating actions. But aerials won 71st percentile. And it's always something that we look at, isn't it, when we talk about defenders and how good they are in the air. This season, below last season, but still a respectable 67.2%, but below 72.3%. We know how good Ibu and how strong Ibu is in the air. But Diomande does fit the behemoth profile, doesn't he? If that's what Liverpool were looking for, although it's quite clear we made a move for Dean Huijsen, and whether that was to put pressure on Konate or whatever as the replacement, who will ever know? But yeah, I think Ibu, just from, as I said, Anfield Index, what we're hearing is for transfer window 2, once this one's passed, but this summer is definitely one to keep an eye on. So that's the real latest, ladies and gents, in terms of exits and incomings. There's a lot we're looking for to happen, and it wouldn't surprise me if even we're jumping on before Tuesday just to talk about a latest incoming. Other Liverpool news I did want to bring up for you, just why I've got it here. It is right to talk about our existing players because those who wear the shirts are always the most important, as we know. And in terms of who's got a game today, 4 of our boys, potentially. Virgil, Cody, Ryan, and Jeremy. We'll see how many play. Curtis maybe for England. No one else. But looking yesterday, a few played as well, didn't they? Or no, actually, there is one. Well, I slip into old habits there. I was going to say Kelleher and I was going to mention Robbo, but only one of those is correct. It's sad to say now, isn't it? Old habits die hard. One that I did want to mention that didn't play. Interesting, we spoke about him earlier, Luis Diaz, wasn't in the Colombia squad at all. Now, I had a quick garner online and I couldn't see it at all. I couldn't see confirmation that he was injured or had a knock. Sorry, I just thought it was interesting after his interview and all the talk around Luis Diaz that he wasn't in that Colombia squad yesterday. Maybe some of you will know different than me, but I didn't see anything about his injury. And I knew there was one more I was forgetting, sorry, and it's completely bad to do that, isn't it? Especially because 2 of his counterparts are set to arrive at Anfield very shortly. But Dominic Szoboszlai did play for Hungary, didn't he? In the 2-0 defeat. Friendly, so it doesn't matter. And people showed the footage, didn't they? He played 8. He played a completely different role. He has that freedom for Hungary. But yeah, that was the roundup of the interactions for international there. And hopefully Sai Gopal was right then. If you were saying it, there you go. News for me. Diaz was suspended. And as if you were saying, like Zenel LFC, yeah, I knew Nunez was suspended because that was linked to that previous case, wasn't it? And the Copa America incidents, if we call it that way, in South America. So tomorrow as well, because it's right to call out what's tomorrow. Do we want to see players in this? Maybe just me. I wouldn't mind hearing that Florian Wirtz also left the camp for quote-unquote private reasons. Ibu Kanate, we'll maybe see him. Diogo Jota, probably going to be on the bench, isn't he? He's not really been in for Portugal at all. So tomorrow as well, there is a few to watch for our boys. In terms of AI content in the meantime, plenty of stuff for you, ladies and gents. If written articles are your thing, we've got plenty. They're going to be updated all day, especially with all the latest and breaking news. So we'll see what develops there. In terms of YouTube, dear Christ, ladies and gents, look at all this just in the last day or days or so. We had full expert analysis with XFB, the two Hungarian gents, analysing their fellow countrymen, specifically Kerkez. We had a little chat around Wirtz as well. The transfer show was last night at the same time as well. So me and Trev, only for a limited period because he had technical difficulties, but we brought you everything from Liverpool, the Premier League, and Europe. So bits of that will be out later today as well. Jack jumped on. Looking at Ginger Jurgen Kloppish, isn't he, at the moment? With full analysis on the Paul Joyce article as well. There's honestly so much content. We even had the Luis Diaz stuff. Now, I always call out a guilty pleasure as well, or something that I would always seriously recommend. This one. Harry has played the blinder here. Harry, normally does rival recons, managed to get from the Athletic Seb Stafford Bloor, covers the Bundesliga and gave full analysis on Jeremy Frimpong. Now, for Eddie and Greg Batterme, dependent on what maybe happens and if private reasons, quote unquote, happen for further German signings, there may be a further release, shall we say, with Harry and Seb. So keep your eyes peeled for that at the same time. Plenty going on, isn't there, ladies and gents? Plenty of content, plenty of stories. And let's be honest, we're all hoping that it's the 7th today, by the 10th, that Liverpool, this is incredible to say, thinking how little we did last window. Liverpool could potentially, touch wood, have 4 arrivals through the door by June the 10th. That is a realistic possibility. Insane to say. And one other thing to call out, because a few asked me about this and mentioned it. Lewis Steele, shout out to Lewis, did a full thing, which is quite funny. So actually the stuff in Germany, we managed to catch him in the Allianz Arena as well. He was deadly honest about sticking his neck on the line in terms of Wirtz and Kerkez. And people sort of doubted me when I quoted that. But my recommendation on this is have a watch yourselves of the video. It's quite a funny little channel. And also we gave a good update, which I liked, on Diaz and that situation as well. So well worth a listen and a watch there. But there we go, ladies and gents. Like you, I kind of wait with bated breath to see if there's maybe one big announcement this weekend and we break some records. But also, there's maybe a second announcement where we solve a problem position. We'll see what today, we'll see what the rest of the weekend brings. But on Saturday, the 7th of June, enjoy your weekend. And that was another Daily Red for Anfield Index.